This tutorial we're going to cover how to add doors and frames to a door and hardware schedule, actually a door schedule, using a program like Abbyy. That's Abbyy. Any program, this is a third-party program, so you will have to purchase that outside of Portal Pro. But any program similar to Abbyy will work. I believe even Adobe Acrobat, if you have the version that will allow you to do what we're going to show you, will work. And there are many other programs. We're going to show using Abbyy, and they should all work pretty much the same. So the way we're going to do this is, here we have a project pulled up in the door schedule. And right now, if we take a look at the door tags, there's nothing in here. No door tags, no hardware, nothing. And there's a button here called Get Tag Numbers from PDF File Long Version. That's what we're going to do. But before we do this, we have to go to the plans and using this program Abbyy and move the door schedule into an Excel spreadsheet. So that's the whole idea of what we're going to be doing here. So to do that, pull this over here. Here's a set of plans. It's in PDF. Now I have Abbyy installed, so I can right-click on this, and I'm going to do Open With, and I want to open it with Abbyy. Or you would open it with whatever program you have that will be able to do what we're going to show you. So we'll click on Abbyy. Now when Abbyy opens up, this is a full set of plans, and what we need to do is get down to the door schedule. And over here, I can scroll down to the left. I just happen to know that the door schedule on these plans is on this page 22. So I'll go ahead and we'll open that up. And let's zoom out a little bit to get the whole page. So you can see there's our door schedule, door details, frame details. Now I happen to know on this particular set of plans there's an additional door schedule that's on this page 26 right here. But we can add all these into one door schedule. Now this will work the same if you had, let's say, one door schedule right here and another one next to it, and it doesn't matter if they're on multiple pages or anything. You're going to follow the same process on each one. So let's go ahead and we'll zoom back in on this a little bit. Move this over to where we can get the whole door schedule in here. And the thing we need to do is we want to get all of these doors and door details, frame details, all moved into this Excel spreadsheet. So we want to leave off like this, all this stuff up here, where it says door schedule, store, door frame. We really want to get rid of these headings too, because of the way they're laid out. Now you need to be careful and need to be aware of any issues that could come up. Sometimes when you're importing these into an Excel spreadsheet, the data doesn't go in correctly. So to get this done, we're going to start right here. We'll take our left mouse, and over on this far top left corner, at the top of that 201, we're going to hold the left mouse key down, and then just start dragging. You can see a box is being created around all the data. So we'll come over here to the very end, and just let go. Now when I do that, I get this little pop-up here. It says Copy As. You can see it says as an image, text, or a table. We want to use table. So you notice I'm leaving out these headings because we're going to have to add our own, and there's a reason for that. I don't know if it has to do with the difference in the font. Like this is a larger font, it's a bold font. Sometimes it can cause some issues when you're trying to read these things. So to make it easy and to avoid any possible issues you have to deal with later, just do the door schedule part of it itself, leave out the rest of it. We're going to click Copy to Table, And what this is going to do, it's going through and it's recognizing all the text around inside of this box that we just created. So we'll have to give it a couple minutes to finish. And once it's done, I know it says image size is too large. Don't worry about that. We're going to go ahead and click close. Now you can see it says copy to clipboard. So next thing we need to do is open up a blank Excel spreadsheet. So I have one opened up right here. And we're going to come over here to the left in the second row, because I want to use this first row for column headings. So I'm going to come over to the second cell right here, and then right click with my mouse, and these are the options. If I come down here to paste options, you can see if I just mouse over this, that's what it's going to look like. If I do the other one, this is what it's going to look like. So I really don't need all that formatting and everything else, so I'm just going to go ahead and paste it in like this. Okay, so now we have all the text in here. Now what we need to do is get that other door schedule. So I'm going to minimize this, and we're going to come down here to this page 26. Scroll over. Always make sure that on this other door schedule that the columns are exactly the same as the one you just copied from. If they're not, you're going to have issues. So you can get around that. You can just take this schedule and paste it into a second sheet here, paste it in here, and add whatever columns you need to match what you just copied from. Okay, so let's come back over here. Now I'm going to start right here at the top of 301. Again, with my left mouse, I'm going to drag a box around all this. Copy as tables again. Let it recognize all the text. And we'll close this. Now we'll go back to our Excel spreadsheet. Come into the cell right below the last item, right click, and again do the same thing. Paste. So now you can see we've got the entire door schedule for this project. Now I'm using a small project right now because we don't want to spend a whole lot of time. The larger your project, the more time some of this can take. So this is for demonstration purposes, so you know exactly how to do this. All right, so now once I've have all my doors and frames and data copied in, I can come up here now and I'm going to add the column headings. Now they can match, if you want to match what the architect was using right here, you can do that. Or you can put in your own, it doesn't really matter. So let's just pull it down here. We'll go ahead and come back to the spreadsheet. I want to be able to see that so I know what was what. So I know this one's going to be tag numbers, so I'm just going to use the word tag. It can be anything you want. It doesn't matter. And this one was for paired openings, so I'll just use the same thing, pair. And this one was width. I'm just going to put a W. This one was height. I'll use an H. And this one is thickness. So I'll use a T. And this one was type. We'll call it, instead of type, I'm going to use door mat for door material. Door mat. And this one was, match it up down here, is elevation. So I'm going to call this one door elevation. This one we probably won't even be using, but I'm going to give it a heading anyway. I'm going to call it the same thing, just glass. This one is the type down here for the frame, which is basically, again, hollow, or the material. So I'm going to call this one frame mat. And this one will be elevation, frame, elevation. I'm using frame in front of it so it doesn't get confused with the two different columns here, so that I know they're different when PortalPro tries to read this spreadsheet. And this one is the elevation, and this one is head. Now I'm going to have to spell this out because I have an H over here. I don't want to use the same thing, so I'm going to go ahead and use head. We're actually not even going to use that column. You'll see in a little bit. This one is jam. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. This one is the head height, whether it's 2 or 4 inch face. So we'll just use the same thing, head height. And then this one is hardware. We'll call it HDW. This one is fire rating. And if I check the schedule, I don't think anything is fire rated in either one of these schedules. No, they're not. But we're going to use this anyway because I'm going to add some fire ratings in just to show you how it all works. Okay, so let's pull this back down here. So, yeah, so I want this one here. I'm just going to call it fire. And then comments. So now we have our spreadsheet. And again, you notice how I pasted that in. I didn't use the other option where, if I can still do this or not. Yeah, see how the text is a lot bigger and everything has a border around it. I want to leave out all that kind of formatting. That's why this one here seems to work better. But you try it yourself, you play around with it, experiment, but always double check your data when you import it into PortalPro. All right, so once we have this set up, I want to go ahead and save this. So we'll go ahead and click File, Save As, and we're going to put this in that same spreadsheet. Let me move this over here. That was in Bid Plans and Documents. Okay, so we're going to put this down on the E drive. Almost there. Bear with me. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to paste it in here. I'm just going to call it CVG. So click Save. And now we've saved that door schedule. Now, before you attempt to move this into PortalPro, you want to make sure that spreadsheet is closed. So here it is. We saved it. We're going to go ahead and close it because if it's open, you'll get an error because it'll tell you the file's in use and it can't read it. All right, so now we're back here in PortalPro. We're open to the job that we want to put this in. And we're going to come over to the door schedule tags and click this button, get tag numbers from PDF file long version. Now you do have a short version here that you can use if you're just looking for a quick way to get everything blown in, get a reading on it. This one's going to be a bit more detailed. So you can see you have a few more, it's actually all the headers that you're going to see in a door schedule. If we come back over to the door schedule, go back to the door schedule form, all these columns right here, other than the pricing, but all these columns are the columns that we're looking to populate with this form here. So you can see there's tag number, hardware set, so everything, including these up here. That's what we want to match up with this form. So let's just come back over here. Now the first thing we need to do is tell it to get that Excel spreadsheet file that we just saved. So we're going to go click File or Get File. And it's actually under, I think under here. Yeah, so this is the file, CVG XLSX. So click that. Now you want to give it a few minutes because it's going to go through and read that spreadsheet. It's going to get all the column headings in it. But we're not going to be able to import this yet, and I'll explain why in just a minute. As soon as it finishes up here. Okay, so there it is. It's all loaded. If I hit this drop down next to tag number, those are all the column headings that we put into that Excel spreadsheet. And what we're going to do is match this up. Anything in red, you can see it says select from Excel column. So anything that's marked in red is going to come from Excel. Anything in black is going to be coming from what would normally be in Portal Pro in the drop down. For example, interior, exterior, it's just those two, which will match in the door schedule. Right here, it'll match the same columns here. So again, anything that's in black is going to be the same as what you would find in a typical drop down, like jam. There's all the jam sizes. But anything in red, again, is going to come from that Excel spreadsheet. Now, one thing we're missing here, if I look at this drop down, it's all these Excel spreadsheet columns. You can see there's nothing in here for door series, for hollow metal door series, wood door series, even the vendor. There's nothing in here for any of that. Well, I'm sorry, vendor comes from the drop down. But anything in red, like weld, frame anchors, door gauge, there was nothing in here for gauge or door veneer for wood doors, nothing in here for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some columns to that spreadsheet. So the more columns we add, the more detailed this is going to be when we import it into Portal Pro. So let's go back to that spreadsheet. And see if I can get this in a position. I'll just keep it here for right now. So if I look at these column headings, you can see there's no room information for one in this Excel spreadsheet. So I could add some additional columns here. I could add room 1 and room 2, and then go down each one of these door openings from the door schedule, or probably floor plans, and put in all the room information if I want to do that now. Or you can just leave it, and we won't, anything that you leave blank, it will not, it'll skip over. So in this case, we're going to be leaving room information blank because when we get into Portal Pro, we can add that there. Label, we do have a column here for label. And if you recall, I was going to add some door labels. Let's make this guy, we'll call it 1.5 hour. Anything you want, or whatever's on the door schedule. If the door schedule already has doors labeled as being fire rated, then you can leave it at that. But in this case, we're going to just type something in just so I can show you how this is all going to work. And let's go ahead and make this one. I'm going to call this one 90 minute, even though it's the same thing. I just want to show you the difference when we get into importing this. Okay, so there we have our fire ratings. Let's come back down here. Here's a column for phase. If this project has phases and it's not shown in this spreadsheet, then I can add a column here called phase or whatever I want to call it, and add in like numbers, like phase number 1 for phase 1 or number 2 for phase 2, etc. So I can add all those in. If there are no phases, then you'll be leaving that blank. Here's one for handing. Now, typically, if you're just doing this to get quotes and things like that, you don't have to worry about handings. We just want to know how many of each particular door there are, because handings aren't going to change the price for quoting. But if you want to do this in a more detailed fashion now, so when it gets put into Portal Pro, it's all ready to go, then add a column here called hand or handing, and you can put whatever you want in. So let's say handing, and we're just going to go down the list. Let's say this one is right hand reverse. Now, what I can do to make this go a little bit quicker, I'm going to copy that, Control C on my keyboard. That's after I type it in. Let's start that over. I want to type in right hand reverse. I'm going to move out of that cell and then go back into it and then hit Control C on my keyboard, and that copies that. Now I can go down, if I'm looking at my plans, I can find all the tag numbers with that are right hand reverse and just do Control V, whatever they are. Now if there's several of them right together, I can highlight the first column, hold the Shift key down on my keyboard, and then hit the one however far down I need to go, and I can do a Control V, and it pastes it into all of those cells. Or you can do something like click that cell, hold the Control key down, and then just selectively pick columns, and then do Control V. So those are some different ways you can get these handings moved in pretty quick. So let's do some left-hand reverse now. Control copy. I hit this one. Oop, I didn't want to do that. I meant to hold the Control key down, because I just want to be selective here. I'll do Control V. Now down here I made a mistake, so I need to make sure I take that out, because there's nothing in that row. You don't want it to try and read a blank row. So we'll leave that empty, and let's call this one right hand. Gotta delete that, and this one we'll make it left hand, and right hand again. So those are our handings. This one's provided by others, so I'm not going to do anything with that. Looks like it's a plastic laminate door. Over here in my pair and single column, I do want to add something here for single doors. Now they've already have pair for paired opening listed. So I'm going to go ahead and put an S for single, or however I want to put it. If I want to do single, or anyway, it doesn't really matter. Control copy. That was holding the Shift key down, do Control V, and down to here, Control V again. So now I've got single and pair designated. Some other things you can do with Excel. Excel's a pretty powerful program. There's a lot of formulas and shortcuts you can use, but we're not going to get into everything you can do. This is not an Excel class here. But something like, let's give you an example. Let's say you want to remove some text out of some of these, or whatever it might be. You can highlight this column, and then let's say I want to remove that A210. Actually, I'm not going to do that because I want to use it. Let's use the head column, because I know I'm not going to be using this column. I want that to stay for a reason I'll get to later. So let's use this head column. Let's say I want to remove all of everything except that first number, the 122525. So I can come over here to find and select, and we're going to do replace. And it's once you know find what, so I'm going to do that /A240. Yeah, that's the first one. And if I want to replace it with something else, I would type it in here. But what I want to do is remove it completely. So you can either remove it completely or replace it with something else. And I want to come down here and click Replace All. So you can see it took out everything with A240 on it. Now, the next one is going to be the A330. So come back up here. Do 330, replace all. And it looks like that's all of them. So you can see we get rid of all that data that we didn't want. So just some little tricks like this you can use to help make it a little bit easier for you. But again, there's all other kinds of formulas that you can use on this, but it depends on what you want to do or what you're trying to do. I can also do things like, I know I'm not going to be using this column here, glass, because there's no place in Portal Pro that it's going to put that. That glass is actually going to be probably somewhere in this door detail, or this elevation, probably a half glass or a full glass. I could add this as a note if I wanted to put it over here in the comments, so I could copy this over, because I'll probably use this comment column. That'll go into the remarks in the Portal Pro door schedule. So I could copy that over here into the comments. And at least then that way I would have that. So we'll do Control C and Control V. Control C, Control V, Control V. Now these are actually aluminum doors, and in this particular case we're not supplying aluminum, so we're not going to do anything with that. I could have left that out. But at this point we're just leave it like that. Okay, so that takes care of handing. Now size we have. You have size, it depends on how the schedule is laid out. If the door size is all in one column, like 3080, then this is all the only column you need. But in this case, we have a width and a height column. So the width we have a column for, and the height we have a column for. So we're going to leave it. We're good on that. So we'll leave it there. And thickness, we do have a column for that. If we didn't, I could add it. And then remarks. Here's our remarks. We're going to match that up with this comment column. Door elevation, we do have right there. Door design, there is no separate column for door design, but I can use door elevation, and I'll show you how and how that works in just a minute. Door lock, we don't have a column for locks. So if I wanted to add locks, let's see. I'm just going to put a space in there because I want to get rid of that text overlapping that. Okay. I just put a space in there. That way this one cell doesn't override every cell to show the complete text. Or I could have just moved this column over like that. But I want to show additional columns here, so okay, that'll work. All right, so we're working on locks. So we don't have a column for locks. So I'm going to add lock. And let's look at some additional ones. Frame elevation, we do have. Frame size. Frame size, unless you have a column for frame size, just leave it blank, because frame size will be generated automatically based on the size of the door and whether or not it's a pair or a single. So you'll see that in just a bit. Frame jam, we do have We do have a jam column here, so we can use that. Frame header, we do have a header. If we didn't, you could, if they were all going to be 2-inch heads, then you could just use whatever's in the drop down here. Let me move this over so don't lose it. So you can see I could use this as the header column, or I can add a column if they are different. So if all the heads are going to be 2-inch, then I would just select 2-inch here. Or in this particular case, we have a column right here, head height. So we're going to use that for this header column. Weld, same way, we can add a column for weld, and then go down and add whatever we need, like maybe this is W, and next one is going to be KD because it's a drywall frame or whatever. Or if they're all going to be welded, you just select from the black drop down. The same with anchors. If you want to add a column for anchors, we'll add anchors. What else do we have? We have wood door vendor, that's black. Okay, we have door series. We don't have a column for series, so I could add a column for series. Now instead of adding these right now, I've got one that's already filled in, which I'll show you in just a minute. Alright, so again, that's what we're doing. We're looking for red columns that don't exist on the spreadsheet that we do want to import. And again, if there's a black column and a red column, and if they're all going to be the same, like if all doors are 18 gauge for hollow metal, then use the, I'm sorry, right here, door gauge. If everything's the same, then just use the black column. Don't even bother trying to add a, but if they are different, if you have 16 and 18 gauge, you'll want to use this and then create a column to show the differences. Same way with veneer. Typically all door veneers are going to be exactly the same, so we'll be using the black here. Okay, so let's come back over to the spreadsheet. Now I'm going to close this. I'm going to show you a spreadsheet. I'll go ahead and save it. I'll show you a spreadsheet that's already filled in right here. You can see I've already added the additional columns, handing, weld, and I've gone through and added the values for anchors, masonry tee, or metal stud, based on whether it's a drywall frame. Actually, the jam detail is going to tell me. Or if it's a masonry frame, then it'll be masonry tee. The same with welding. All drywall frames are going to be knocked down, but welded, or masonry will be welded. And then this lock column, this is based on the hardware that's being used, which means you'd have to look at the hardware sets for each one of these if you want to have add in the lock preps. But again, the more you add in, the more detailed this takeoff is going to be. So you can either spend the time on it here, or if you're just looking to quote these projects, don't worry about a lot of this, like lock or handings, unless it's going to change the price somehow. And of course the frame design. But this is a column we have already built. Now I do have one issue that I noticed was coming up. You can see this is the letter T instead of a 7. You have to look for these kind of things. So I don't want this to read this incorrectly. So I'm going to change it now in the spreadsheet. I'm going to delete that and make it a 7. Looks like somebody may have mistyped. Okay, so now we're back to 7. Actually, it would have been a 7 with an apostrophe for feet. Okay, so now it's been corrected. So again, look the spreadsheet over. Make sure everything looks the way you want it to look. All the values are, look for things that you really don't want to be in there, like in this glass column. You can see there's a hyphen in there. I could remove all of that if I just to be, clean it up. Make sure there aren't any empty rows in between any of these. If there are, then just get over in this number column, highlight it, and then keep your mouse over here, right click, and click delete, and that'll delete that entire row. So you can see I've added wood series, hollow metal series, which in this case I really didn't have to because they're all going to be the same series. The same with the wood veneer. I could have left that out because they're all going to be the same. Let's see. Door gauge. Yeah, see, some of these are 16, some are 18. All right, so this is our spreadsheet. I'm going to go ahead and save the change I just did. And we're going to close this. Again, we need to make sure you close it or we won't be able to read it. Now, we're going to go back to Get File. We want to come back up here. I need to, because that spreadsheet is in this Excel folder right here. Again, I want to reopen this, so we'll double click it. And we'll let it load up. So it's loading all these red columns with the, or red drop downs with the columns from the Excel spreadsheet. The other ones in black should have already been loaded. They're ready to go. Okay. There we go. That's finished now. Once this little guy pops up, then we know it's ready to go. So again, we're going to go down this, all these drop downs and select the from the spreadsheet the correct column that we want to use. So this tag number is going to be tag. Hardware was HDW, if I remember right. Room we don't have, so we're going to leave those blank. Single pair. Yeah, we have a pair column, so we're going to select that. Now watch what happens when I select this. This opens up over here. And this is showing me the distinct values from that single pair column in the Excel spreadsheet. So what I need to do is, even if it looks the same, I need to double click each one of these. So I'll start with the PR, double click it. You can see it opens up here. Now I need to match a column from Portal Pro. In this case, it'll be, even if it's spelt the same, you still have to select it. So PR for pair of doors. And then I'll double click single, same thing. And I'll select single. You have to select it even if it's the same thing like S&S, PR, and PR, because there's actually a hidden ID that it's using in the background. You can't see it. All right, so that gets our single pair. Now we want to do label. And that was under, we called it fire. And again, that loads up. You can see even though they've, I used two different values here. We're going to double click this one. We're going to use U90 right here. And this one's going to be the exact same thing. U90. So it's using the same value for both of these. Let's see, interior and exterior. We do have a column on there to show which doors are exterior. So I'm going to use, if they were all interior or all exterior, I would just select it here. Select one of those two values. But since they are different, and I do have a column in the spreadsheet, I'm going to select this red one right here, interior, exterior. And again, we have to match them up. EXT, even though it's spelled the same as what's going to be in the thing. And interior will match up to this one. And phase, I think we do have, I did add a phase, so I'll select that. Now, there are no matching drop downs for phase, so you can see this, there's nothing to select over here. Handing, there is a handing column. And again, I need to match them up, even though they might look the same. Left hand for left hand reverse. right hand reverse. Okay, so next one is size. If it's width only, or if it's width and height, I need to select that column from the spreadsheet. So that's going to be width only. And then the height will be height. Now, I'm going to pause the video, and I'm only going to come back to show you some couple things that we can do. I'm going to go ahead and start filling these in so we don't waste a bunch more time. So I'll be right back. Now here I want to show you, I'm going to use door elevation right here. So we're going to use that column. You can see nothing pops up because it's going to use whatever you have from that spreadsheet. And then door design, I want to get the values from the same column in that spreadsheet. So I'm going to select door elevation again. So you can see we have some different things over here. Now, where this little line is, I'm going to leave that blank. I'm not going to worry about it. So I'm going to start with the first one. This one's A210. And that will come, if I look at the plans. So if I pull the plans over, this is sheet A210, and that's elevation 1. So you can see the doors there. It looks like a full glass. These are aluminum doors, apparently. But they are full glass, so I'll double click here and we'll select FG for full glass. Now the 15A240, again, we'll look at the plans. There's 15 on sheet A240, it's a half glass. And then 16 is a flush door. So 15 is G for half glass. 16 rather, was a flush door. And we're not going to bother looking at these, but I'm pretty sure these are full glass again. So I'm just going to go ahead and select full glass. And there we have it. Now I'm going to pause the video again. Now over here I'm selecting jam. And it's the same thing. I'm going to look at these details to see what size frame it is and what type it is. This one is aluminum details, so since I'm not doing anything with aluminum, I'll leave that one blank. I won't need anything there. So this A240, I believe that was a masonry, larger frame, like we'll say 8 3/4. This A330, I believe, was a 5 3/4 masonry. Whatever it is, I'm not going to bother looking it up. Just for demo purposes only. And this one will be, that's a drywall frame, 5 7/8. And then frame type, I did add a column for that. Right here, frame type, CDS3 for double swing, meaning pair. This is a column that does show up for a frame in the Portal Pro. Now once we get down here to door and frame material, first thing you need to do is pick the type of, or the column that's going to show the door material. You need this so it can distinguish if we're going to be using wood door or hollow metal door or an aluminum door. So we'll click this, and this will be doormat right here. And here we'll have to match up the types. Now this one only has one hollow metal, but you can see we have several types of hollow metal that you can select from. If you have galvanized frames, maybe for exterior, you want to make sure you, in the door material column, add a whatever type of, if it's Galvaneo or A60 or G90, and make sure you put that in your spreadsheet. But in this case, it looks like everything's going to be cold rolled. So I'll leave it at that. We're not doing anything with this. I'm going to leave it blank because that's by others. Steel, not doing anything with either. But if I was, there is a steel option. But we do have wood, so we'll take this one. And we'll select wood. So now I can go through, and now that I have the door material, I can set up the wood and hollow metal vendors and manufacturers. So this one will be, let's say, Algoma. The wood door category, let's make these all, let's say, birch, rotary, natural. Because I know I have those doors in my database. And in the wood door series, if they're all the same, you could just pick whatever they are. But in this case, we have fire rated doors, so there is a column on there for series, wood door series, right here. So we're going to use that and just match these up. FD will be fire and mineral core, and then PC5 is particle core. And the same with the door veneer. If they're all going to be the same, in this case they're all going to be birch, I'm just going to select this. I think there is a veneer column, but they're all the same, so I'm not even going to bother. And of course the wood door finish, they should all typically be the same. So let's say these are going to be unfinished. Now the hollow metal. It's going to be hollow metal doors for the category. The series, they're all the same in the spreadsheet, so I'm not going to bother. There is a column in here, I think, for hollow metal, right here, hollow metal door series. But I'm not going to bother. They're all going to be the same in this, which is going to be 707 right here. Now gauge, they do vary. We do have 16 and 18 gauge. If they're all the same, I'd select it here. But in this case, we're going down hollow metal door gauge. And again, we need to match them up. 16 is 16 gauge. 18 is 18 gauge. And then door finish are all the same, typically prime paint. If for some reason anyone runs into a project where they would vary, let us know. We'll see if we can add another column in here where you can make one for the finish and have various finishes. Aluminum, rather, we're not doing anything with, so I'm leaving these all blank. Now we're going to do the same thing down here for frames. Same thing we did up here for the doors. So we'll just pause the video for a minute. Okay, so here's our completed form. You notice over here for on wood frames, there aren't any on this project, so this is all blank. We did the hollow metal frames. The frame series do vary because we have masonry and, let's just take a look at that real quick. You can see we have the drywall and masonry, so we had to select those. Of course, the aluminum frames are all blank. So once this is all done, now we're ready to import it into Portal Pro. So all we have to do now is click Save. And it's going to put all their material in. It says the schedule has been imported. Open the job and verify or make changes as needed. So you need to look it over. Nothing's 100% in these things, especially the way plans are printed from an architect. So you need to make sure all your data looks okay. Say OK. And I'll just minimize this for now. Now you notice I'm in the door schedule, it doesn't show anything. That's because, and it's the same thing over here under the tags, I have to reload the project. So I need to come back over here and click on CBG and let it reload. And now if I look under tags, You see all of our tag numbers and hardware sets are there. See, that's another thing we could have done. I could have removed that word set from the spreadsheet instead of using set on each one of them, and to where we would only have numbers. Yeah, it looks like I put a blank one in there. Now, let's say I don't like that. I want to do it different. Let's take a look at the door schedule form. Okay, so looks like it was picking up this hyphen right here. And that looks like that door that we're not even going to be using, so I really don't have to worry about that. It looks like the same thing on these two steel doors, probably overhead doors. But if needed, what I could do, let's come back over to this, no, I'm sorry, not here, this form, come back over here, come back over to Open Job. You have two buttons down here. It says remove all doors frames from schedule revision. That means if I click this button, it'll remove all the doors and frames that are in that door schedule from this revision only. Looks like there's several. It won't touch either one of these two, but it will remove those from here. So I could click remove if I wanted to start all over, remove that, and then I could come back to this form, and maybe I need to reload that spreadsheet because I made changes in it or I found some discrepancies. And then I can just go back through all of this and reload that schedule again. So that's an option you have available to you. And you have the option for hardware also. So if for some reason when you enter the hardware, again through Abbyy, let's say, or whatever, you can have the option to remove it all and start all over. And that's only under this revision number. So again, it won't touch any other revision. If this was the only revision, of course it's going to remove everything from it. Okay, so we're going to leave it at that. Now, what you can do is just to make sure everything looks okay, just take one and just double click it and let it open up. And look at all the fields. Make sure everything's there that you need, and if not, go ahead and add those columns in, or those values. There is no pricing because this is not a door from our database. So if I wanted, I could go through each one of these and actually change it to an actual door. But there are other ways of doing that. And you have those options over here under this products, discounts, and markups, where you can change those products to products in your database. So now what we have is if we're doing this to get a quote from our vendor, now we can go under door hardware vendor quotes, and we'll select doors, frames, vendors, and we'll select start with Curry's. So you can see we have the more information you put in that spreadsheet, it builds a fuller part number, and this is how we can build our quote form. Excuse me. So our quote form will be more detailed in what we're trying to get priced out. You see you have the door with lock preps, CH, and we'll create the file for that. Now, if you want, you can put maybe in the email body, if you're going to email this out, here in Portal Pro or in your email program, whatever. If you create the spreadsheet, you can kind of explain what these different abbreviations stand for, like F for flush, FG for full glass, then CH for cylindrical lock and hinge. ML is mortise omit lock. Just things like that. Now, we may at a later date try to come up with a way to build a little small legend to include on this this quote form before you send it out. But for now, you'll have to put that into some kind of a note. And then PRI, you could just designate that means prime paint only. Okay, so that should pretty well cover it. Now, wood doors will look pretty much the same. See, it's doing the same thing. It's got the fire rating on the door, the type of door it is, the series, size, all that different information that might be needed. Okay, so that should pretty well cover it. So if you have any questions or comments on this or suggestions, please call or email, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. Thanks.